Policy and Governance Committee meeting to order. First up on our agenda is approving the minutes from last month. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to our discussion items. First up is 200.3R1. I think no changes from our last meeting. This is just the cleaned up version. And so we've talked about it a lot, but I will open the floor for any comments, questions, concerns from the directors.
I just had one clarifying question. These meetings, this is just for that very specific instance where we have a meeting with a parent or an employee over those specific. It's not for the wider, for these other meetings that we've had, for example, with the Palestinians. This is just for this, if we're talking about a disciplinary concern or an employment issue. Is that correct?
I think our understanding would be that it would be for those, Jane.
Oh,
The
I see.
schedule, that's how we would then work through who would be in attendance would be per that schedule. So like one that I'm working on currently is, potentially meeting with the school committees from the resolution. And so if we
Okay.
were to set a meeting time with them, that might be our first opportunity to use this policy. But to answer your question, yes, I think
Okay.
it's intended for both.
For both? Okay, all right.
That was my understanding, too, Jane.
Okay.
Anything else? Okie dokie. And we are voting on this tonight. Action item. We're going to get it done. Maybe. No, don't know how everyone's going to vote, but we are going to vote, so that's exciting. 400s then.
Sure. Good evening. I'm actually going to turn it over to Nick as the Human Resource Officer and let him talk about it.
Have you been making him write all of the policies? Because he had to do animals last time too.
He was just lucky to get the animals. He gets people by default.
Yeah, people are more, animals felt a little
Just
more.
two-legged animals.
Yeah, it's all about the same. There's a few updates in here, just items that we wanted to draw your attention to. One of the first one that's highlighted is just simply a title change. The second one related to the abuse of students. The reason we want to remove that is actually it contradicts what is actually the state guidance that exists now. So our other two policies are the ones from ISB, and it would make, so the 402.2 and the 402.3 are the ones that are accurate and better aligned. For some reason, the other, which was an administrative guidance, I think the previous one, had just stuck on that we just need to scratch. So that's why you see that taken out of there. A couple of things with the substance-free workplace. As we work through a situation this year related to CBD products, we've identified that the BOE treats CBD and THC similar to alcohol. So we wanted to call those things out in our policy as well. It kind of fell under the other unauthorized drugs or whatever, but just we felt like, especially in a state where you can purchase those things in some cases at 21, it felt like we needed to just be more specific with those policies so that way people understood that shouldn't be used during the school day or during the work day, especially with the guidance we got from the BOEE related to how they interact with those. And then the other one, 404, I won't talk about the informal title that goes along with this one, but this is one related to more looking at the conduct piece and when an employee is being asked to meet with human resources or district administration, that they are required to do so, and failure to do so would then result in some consequences up to termination. There's some other aspects of that and we tried to clean up just how it was organized too, because it kind of overlapped appearance and conduct, and we tried to clean that up a little bit as you look through that one. So those were the major points related to those pieces. And then the last one I draw your attention to is 415. We've done some nice work. Chase had started some work related to salary placement and reconsiderations. One thing we've talked a little bit about is how can we best work with people when they have been in the system in a particular position and just they continue to do a nice job, and we want to be able to elevate them a little bit. So a simple example is like in our offices we have specialist positions and there's senior specialist positions. If you are in that role for a period of 5 years, you're doing it successfully, your supervisor supports that, you could then be moved into the senior level. It just gives them greater salary potential, and then also just some recognition for a job well done. In some cases, we don't necessarily want the person to switch roles. We want them to continue doing the work they're doing, and we want to be able to thank them and do so both monetarily and in just our actions. So those are the highlights there, and then the others are just updating the scales, the pay scales as we need to in this policy. That covers a little summary of that.
Questions or comments?
It wasn't highlighted in the table of contents, the 401.1, but there's definitely an update there. And, I mean, there's a red line and a green part. So, that's the one I wanted to talk about anyway, so the fact that it wasn't highlighted, I don't care. But, I just want some reminders of what, like, the changes to law in terms of affirmative action and things like that. Like, is this language kosher now with all the weird stuff?
I think this is one that maybe is being updated in
IASB
policy
plus.
primers.
This
Yeah.
was- that's right.
And so I just carried it over from the policy primers
So
too,
has
but
it-
they'll be
have we
approved
already
tonight.
taken it as a vote with the primer, or it's?
It'll be approved tonight in the primers.
Okay.
But then, so I
So
put the
this
same thing in
language
here.
came from
Yep.
IASB? is-
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we feel pretty good about it. That was my only concern was
I had that
that
same
I
question.
don't know what
Mm-hmm.
language we can use anymore, but I see affirmative action. I was like, I
Yeah.
feel like that was a topic that we should probably cover.
And kind of extended to that, I believe in December, we'll be looking at our affirmative action and equal opportunity employment plans. Right now, we're working with our legal counsel to make sure what we have in there is more appropriately aligned. I think previously what we had would have probably fallen out of bounds a little bit of what the current law states, and we're working to make sure that we're better aligned. So I think that language would align with what we're trying to do there as well.
If everybody feels good with it, that's fine. I mean, I see use affirmative action standards which are based on the population of the district community. That feels out of bounds to me.
Feels what?
Like illegal.
Like, I didn't think we were allowed to do any affirmative action, period, at all.
We're still
Well,
expected to
it's
turn
the-
in a plan.
We're still expected to have a plan, like
But
that'll
the
be
part of
your-
based on the population of the district community is what feels like, it feels wrong, based on what I remember from.
Isn't it,
from the
there's
legal.
tension between existing law and the executive orders? And so the executive orders from the White House are still being challenged legally, but existing federal law would make that requirement. The question that of course will resolve is whether his executive orders and the letters and all of those things are prevail over existing statute, which I think that is.
So
based
it's
on.
fair to say that, yeah, this is okay by
Yeah.
statute,
Yeah.
but not okay by executive order? which-
Challenged by executive orders are being challenged in the courts currently.
I think the other thing that is, I mean, we can take another look at it, if that makes everybody feel more comfortable before you approve it, but the other thing, as it states, the district will utilize affirmative action standards, and it says, yes, they're based on that, but standards would reference whatever the current guidance is also gonna be. That could be the link to, okay, well, and then that's the dispute, right? Is it the executive order, is it the stuff, you know, that we've traditionally had? I mean, there could be some coverage there, but if that statement, you know, of course, makes you guys uncomfortable, we can take another look at it too before we do any approval, but I think
I
like
would
Brady
want
said,
it to
we're-
read
yeah.
this, way. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
bother
it's
me
a-
personally,
it's a-
right? I just
yeah.
don't want us to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
getting in trouble and drawing
Mhm.
attention to
And
something
reasonably
that might get us in
recruited,
trouble.
I think is, or reason.
Yeah, I think there's some,
reasonably
I think
recruited.
there's some districts that are probably pretty happy with this language because they think that it makes it easier for them to be in compliance with their affirmative action plan for that part that Pat just talked about, or reasonably can be recruited. So districts can set goals, and then when they can't meet them, they say, well, we met your board policy because the policy just said could be reasonably.
Gave you an out.
What was the percentage of, teachers of color in the state? Lots of districts are gonna lean on that last phrase of why they don't have a diverse cadre of teachers. But I still understand, I think the way it's written, yeah.
I feel if we're legally safe, I'm cool with it. That was my concern.
Being legally safe is always a good thing. Being committed to our core values is also a good thing. And I think this more than pleased with this language, if it, because it brings us, or keeps us attuned and operating on our core values.
That's fair. I don't think that's an either-or thing though either, right? Like, I think we can be legally safe and hold to our core values both. And I think this does that, or at least it sounds like. So
I mean, Matt and I were just talking about it. It's more legally safe than what they crossed out in red.
Right.
Right.
I did read that part too.
Yeah, so that's the edit, yeah.
And that's what the attempt is to allow districts to continue to work towards some of those goals. Or in mind. But other districts could have a different goal in mind.
If this is in the policy primer and not the 400s and we're voting on it tonight, do we feel like we're ready to vote on it tonight, or do we need to pull this out of the package?
I don't think we have discomfort with it, but if you
Okay.
guys are uncomfortable, we'll take another look at it. I think we're okay to move forward.
If it's
on
in
our
the
end.
policy primers that
Yeah.
we're voting on tonight, I'm cool with going ahead and voting on it.
I mean, they
Which,
do-
remember, like, this will be clean for the next time. That part shouldn't be an edit for the next time.
And to be honest, I mean, we would ask the same people to give us legal advice on it. That my understanding
ISB got.
is gave ISB legal advice on it. So we've been told that they send all of them through all theirs before they send them out, which is what we go back to.
So we can pay extra for the same advice?
Well, we smartened up. Smarter, harder.
That was the only update in there that I had questions about. So the rest of it all seems pretty minor.
Did have a question that comes to me from time to time, and I guess it would be under the 404 clearance, was it, on my computer? We did some moving of furniture, and the plug-in that was plugged in for my computer is not plugged in, so I don't have a charge right now. So the appearance, and one of the questions that I get from people especially teachers, is comments on other teachers in their buildings wearing competing schools, especially competing private schools, clothing within or buildings. I was wondering if this fits in there, if that has ever been a discussion. This is being, given the competition, I'm not necessarily comfortable with people walking around our buildings as billboards for schools that are going after our students.
I mean, I'll let you talk, but Brady, I think, I understand that.
Yeah.
I think we'd be in a really tough spot from a freedom of speech and then more specifically from religion. If there was somebody wearing a shirt from one of the private religious schools in our buildings, I think that we'd be up against it in a hurry if we tried to disallow that or to, say that we weren't going to allow them, is my initial reaction.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't see a way where we could craft a policy that would prohibit that.
Especially knowing where the Supreme Court came down on their last.
Exactly. And it'd be more the religion thing.
Employee
Yeah.
and
Well,
religion
yeah.
school case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just where it would be for us.
So other employees could wear shirts and things that say, don't go to this school, it's a terrible school.
I think that would be a little bit different, possibly, Charlie.
A little different wording maybe.
Yeah.
But it might cause a disruption.
Might cause-
Yeah,
That's what I was
then
just
you're gonna go
saying,
right to
that's
the
a
Tinker
substantial
standards and,
disruption.
right.
I think you get closer to
Maybe that
that.
students on, but yeah.
And then I think we come into that's a different professional conversation.
I wasn't really being serious.
I know you weren't.
Yeah. I think we probably see it in schools, honestly, most, not like football practice. If an employee has kids that go to a private school and they're gonna go to a football game right after school, then they might wear a shirt or a hoodie or sweatshirt. That's probably where I've seen it most, and they're just, because they're gonna go sit in a crowd of people from that school,
Or we
and
have
they're
somebody
supporting their kids. Yeah.
coach there, or coach in other districts
Yep.
too.
I don't know, as competition heats up and we're talking on a budget, that we lost over 100 and how many students this year? That's where I'm at. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't see someone driving their Tesla into a GMC parking lot in Detroit. It's the same kind of, anyway, that's just.
Yeah, I don't think people wearing a sweatshirt is gonna draw people away from our schools to their school, but I think us telling people not to wear a sweatshirt could, that,
Yeah.
that type of thing can backfire, so, yeah.
I think that you'd have to have a policy that's basically no clothes have writing on it.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't
Right.
say you can't have this writing on it unless we have, like, we do have standards, right? Like, that's, you can't wear a giant pot leaf on your shirt, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
There are
Right.
limits that we can't impose, but it
Yeah.
can't be based on something like that, because that is straight to a discrimination. So, yeah, you'd have to go all or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more, encourage the building administrators to work with their teams to have an identified day where they're all wearing their school spirit shirts, make everyone has one. I mean, I think there's ways that you can, sort of amplify the message that you're talking about by creating a different, wave of speech that we might consider to be, desirable, so. We like better.
Sounds like an opportunity for me to start handing out
Exactly.
t-shirts.
That would be right. That's speech, you have more speech. and-
We just give all the
Yeah.
principals some, and then if they see someone here, we just
Right.
want you to have that. Thanks.
So make sure you have this for today. I think
Yeah.
it's a hoodie. There's something about a hoodie, so we need to get this
Yeah.
printed up.
Other comments, thoughts? All right, well, then that brings us on to agenda setting. And we are not meeting in December. Correct? And so, our next meeting will be January 13th. Nope, just kidding, the 27th.
Yeah, because you're supposed to be the second meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
because we're the second meeting.
Yeah.
So January 27th, and we will do
500.
the 500s. But we might see those updates that Laura Gray talked about at our work session.
Oh, stuff related to the CBA?
Yes.
Yeah, that could come in, right?
That,
Maybe sooner.
yeah, that might be ready for the 27th. So those are, I think, some kind of probably important updates. That if you're not on PNG, you may want to come to that meeting. And who knows who's going to be on PNG. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Well, that was a tie.
Kim, how are you going to choose?
I'll say second.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned.